Alrighty, well, hello everybody. I've got quite the game for all of you. Tonight was round four of the September Boylston Tuesday Night Swiss. I have won one, I've lost one, and I've drawn one. So yeah, the my opponent is named Arya Tehrani. Hopefully I say his name right. I believe Arya Mansouri Tehrani, but I'm just gonna call my opponent Arya. Nice dude. As per usual, honestly, everyone's been pretty cool. It was a real pleasure to go over the game with him afterward. And actually, what I'm going to point out here is Arya. We friended each other on chess.com. Is the closest person in rating to me that I've played yet. He is like within 70 points of both my blitz and rapid rating or so. I think my bullet, I'm like 100 or 200 points higher, but everything else is very similar. And so we have a treat for you. So yeah, as far as playing ability, at least online and then in person, this is probably the closest person. I mean, who knows who I've played, who I'm better than or worse than? It doesn't really matter. But the game felt very even, where this opponent is pretty good. Obviously, has some flaws, as do I. But we're like very much on equal footing, so that's cool. Other than that, I didn't really know much about my opponent. He had mentioned that he hadn't played in a few months, but he plays regularly. So I guess when I started playing is kind of when he took his little break, and now he's back. He said he normally plays the Tuesday Swiss, so he generally plays about once a week. I looked online afterward real quick, and it seems like he plays a fair amount too. I mean, I play more than I probably should. Chess is really addicting, but he definitely plays a lot online as well. Yeah, the only other thing is I didn't really know what he was going to play. I'm starting to understand a few people, like their playing style, or at least what their openings are. But Arya was kind of a mystery bit to me. The only thing I had to go for is, or go on, is last week, or maybe during the quad, Zane basically said that he played Arya and that Arya chewed up his Sicilian. So I learned two things from that. Number one, as white, Arya plays e4, or at least played e4, and number two, seems to do well against the the flank defenses. In fact, in the recap, Arya said that he was really hoping that I played the modern, and I said, sorry to disappoint you, I don't really play the modern. Anyway, I've been. It's funny because you'll see. We're gonna play an e4, and then I'm gonna play a d6. We're gonna get the perk. You're gonna see the typical opening, basically what I've been drilling. And before the game, I went over this a little bit. I brushed up on my lines about 6 or 7 moves, just so I can familiarize myself with like the beginning ideas. And this is the Maroxy defense. And for those of you that have been paying attention to the channel, have been following my classical games, I have now played 3 blacks in a row, and I've gotten this exact setup. So my ECO code, my spreadsheet, it's Maroxy defense, Maroxy defense, Maroxy defense. And each time I'm getting better at playing the opening and into the mid game. So, needless to say, I was thrilled that he played e4 and that he immediately went into what I'm going to consider as the main line. I'm only going to consider the main line because online and in person so far, everyone has done this. I think at higher limits, I'm used to poker, at higher levels, that is not what typically happens. Yeah, but holy shit, even in person, everyone seems to trade queens. It looks like it is the best move. I guess it's the English rat where trading queens is not the best move. But nonetheless, this is kind of what I've drilled. So beforehand, I kind of went over this with the computer, kind of preparing myself. I knew that this position, or at least I was hoping that this position would be reached. And I looked at c4, c3. Excuse me. Let me drag the moves that I looked at. This move and knight c3. This move, which are the most common moves, and then f4 attacking. So I basically looked at these 3 out to like 2 moves. Basically, I wanted to be prepared through like move 7. My own thinking now with opening theory is I don't want to get destroyed in the first 5 to 6 moves. I want to have a vague idea. After that, I'm just not going to memorize lines. I'm just going to look at ideas and play from there. But I was prepared for these moves. My friend played knight c3, and I want to say something else about the opening. And I think this was a huge advantage because I played my first 6 moves in less than a minute. And I know this because after move 6, I still had an hour 30 on the clock. Arya did say afterward, he's like, yeah, he knew that this was like an opening, but he wasn't like prepared for it. He hadn't really played against it online. I think he said that he played against it in Blitz a few times, but like he doesn't really know it, which is kind of what I was hoping for. And he said, yeah, he shares that's fine for both sides, and it is fine for both sides. I mean, this is like the typical advantage White has at the very beginning. But he had used 15 minutes through 5 moves. In fact, on move 2, when I played D4, he actually spent 5 minutes before he played D4, which is definitely like the move, if you will. And a few minutes sort of studying about kind of considering whether to take or not. I think he was considering at this point just bringing out his knight, which for the record is a totally fine move. You don't have to take. Again, yeah, this is the position I meant, where taking is not even correct. Yeah, D takes. When I say correct, I mean it's obviously a fine move. It's just against the computer. The problem with playing against the computer, and I'm sure those of you that have, played chess know this, is computers are terrible at training for in-person games because they'll play like the computer lines early, especially because you play against like the high-rated computers. So they'll play these moves that humans generally don't play. So I keep getting, when I tried to play this against the 2000 rated chess computers or whatever, they kept playing knight c3 and knight f3, and I just wanted to get into this position with the takes, and they just wouldn't play this again, because it's like not as good in the early, I don't know. Anyway, small mini rant. Hopefully some of you can understand what I'm talking about. It's kind of frustrating because I wanted to drill like a few different setups, and when you play against a computer, it's kind of shitty training, to be honest. Anyway, the point is, I was ready for knight c3, and if you notice, again, I'm gonna go through, and I played this all in a minute. Is the move c6 is up there. They're all pretty equal, but I knew that in my training or whatnot that I was going to address this with a c6. Typical idea, as I've played multiple times. Reason why is I'm dodging my king or creating a square on c7. I'm limiting the knight, and I'm not going to push. I learned this from my last game where I did blunder, but my opponent didn't capitalize. I'm not going to push b5 until my king is on c7, and then I can perhaps attack on the queen side. Ideally, you attack on the queen side when they queenside castle, when they castle. This is another guy that just refused to do that though. So anyway, so I was kind of prepared. Again, I played the first 6 moves in less than a minute, so I actually had more. I had about the same amount of time because you get 5-second increment in these games. All right, and I think that rattled him a little bit. It wasn't like my intention. I just knew these moves up to he plays bishop c4, which is the best move. I was ready for bishop e3, which is what everyone else has been playing, which is also like a very typical move. I answer it with f6 right away. I figure that's the best idea. And up to here is where I was like booked. Like I knew up to here I knew I was playing like a computer because I had practiced up to this point. You know what I mean? Like this was my practicing. And now he plays bishop e3, which is actually no longer like one of the best moves, but it's a very normal move to me. A lot of people before this play the early bishop to g5, which is bad, which is why you would answer with the f6. But they do it so that they can queenside castle with check. But that's why I have everything here. Anyway, I was prepared up to this point. I didn't realize that I actually did. Funny enough, I actually prepared up to this point. I actually did know that the knight on d7 is a move. With the idea of very quickly trading off the dark square bishop. But I also knew that in the other positions that kind of have a practice or whatever, that I want to tuck my king in. So again, I can't, up to this point, I've spent no time. My opponent spent at least 15 minutes. I can't take credit for like being a chess genius and knowing these. This was literally just me practicing and getting ready in the opening up to about, again, as I said, about through move 7. So at this point, I move king c7. It would have been better to actually play my knight here because I've pushed the c6 move. In some positions, you should put your knight on c6 with the idea of a quick b4. But I didn't do that this game. So I knew that this was kind of the idea. And finally, at this point, on move 8, when he plays knight g to e2, we have a... now this is where, it's game on. For the record, when I was just kind of playing a few different random moves, again, preparing, I knew that a lot of times white likes the knight here rather than here. Everyone else has played the knight here to f3, which is kind of like the more natural spot. It looks like according to the computer, this is still wrong for him. But while we were playing at the board and he played this move, and I knew that he was kind of like out of theory at this point, Um, I was giving him a lot of credit. I thought, okay, he's smart because he's not in the opening anymore, and in a lot of this opening, the knight actually does belong here, because it has no jumps over here. Yeah, well, maybe, and not even. Anyway, but he just wants to get it out of the way. So, all right. So this is the first time I do a think, and I spend a couple minutes on this move, maybe 5 minutes, because I knew that my idea is to play b5, and I have to calculate, because last time I played b5, again, last time meaning I played in, what was it, the Saturday tournament or Sunday tournament, and I got 2 blacks. I won both blacks, which was nice. I played b5 from this position, which, as you can tell, is a massive blunder. And I remembered this, I reviewed this, I literally reviewed this in the video, and the reason why is because they take, and then when black takes, rather than taking back, you throw in this move. I showed my opponent this idea, because you can't block, because the king is not on this all-important square. So that's just winning for white. However, here, once I move my king over, I knew b5 is the idea, because then perhaps I can attack, but also the sack I knew was shitty. It's a bad sack. I had to spend 5 minutes, though, because I wanted to look at it. I didn't want to, get caught with a seat of my pants in case I was going to get sacked on, and then I would be in trouble. He spent another 15 minutes. I'm not kidding when I say 8 moves in, I've spent at most 5 minutes, and he's spent at least 20, if not more. This whole game, I actually developed a really big time advantage, and I think I'm going to credit that to the opening, where I knew what I was doing. My opponent kind of was caught unprepared here. Anyway, I'm just going to leave it on this for a moment, and the reason why is I thought that potentially there's this move with bishop takes, and I thought bishop takes was stronger than knight takes, because the idea is here, when I take, he has this check, and I was a little bit worried if I run with a king, it runs into the castling, but I didn't think that was good, because I actually thought I could hide my king. So follow along. I thought from here, they want me to run to b7. Interesting. I was going to go to d8. I was going to castle, and then I was going to run. Oh no, that walks into this. Maybe that's not what I saw. What did I see? Huh. Hopefully I would have responded in the best way, because it looks like here I have to go to b7 and dodge this check. Okay. And then what does he do from here? He basically looks to attack, and I develop like that. Okay. Anyway, I spent 5 minutes before I played the b5, because I wanted to make sure that the sack wasn't good. So I looked at both the bishop sack as well as the knight sack. I thought this was actually a little bit worse, because once we're in this spot, I thought this was totally fine. Yeah, all my moves are good. So I am right that sacking the bishop is better than sacking the knight. And here, there's just a lot of moves for black where you're, like, totally fine. I wonder if that's one of them. Yeah, it's fine. It's not the best move, but it forces the the pieces off, because you can't do that in time, because then you lose your bishop. So it kind of goes like this, this, this. And I looked at this position, and I thought, I thought that, like, I'd be winning right away. However, my opponent again, Arya, thought for like 15 minutes, and he grabbed his bishop, and I thought he was going to go for it. I thought he was going to sacrifice. So I was getting ready to write down, bishop takes b5. I was getting ready to immediately recapture, and then once he takes, I was getting ready to have to, like, do the hard work of where I'm supposed to run. I can't run there because of this. Run with my king. Hopefully I would have found Hopefully I would have found the square as the right idea. It looks like you can even move up as well, although that's a lot worse. I wonder why. Oh, because they give up this check in there. Oh, so you end up going back to the square. So again, hopefully if this position was reached, I would have been able to deductively reason that I need to hide away on b7. There's no light square bishop anymore, so this is, like, really safe. Yeah, once you're in this position, I mean, this would be a wild position. Again, we mentioned very briefly after the game that I said I thought that he was going to go for this, and he's like, yeah, I just didn't think it was good for me. It's not, but it's it's very interesting. I'll say that much. I mean, in Blitz, this would be really kind of cool to play because if Black doesn't have a lot of time, it's not the easiest to defend. However, looking at it, if I do find the right move, which again, hopefully I would have, with King B7, I thought I was able to run out, but it looks like that's actually the losing line, or at least it would be putting me in a really weird spot. Anyway, and it looks like you just develop. You just try to develop normally. I think I probably would find this, but this looks kind of scary to be completely honest. This is a very dangerous position for Black. It's winning, but it's dangerous. That's a weird move. H6, huh? What would I play here? I probably would develop the knight to c6, to be completely honest. It's not the best move, but it's fine. They double up, and then what do? A6 to bump the knight. You can't take, but you move in. Huh. Well, I'll tell you what, this would have been really interesting, but he didn't go into it. And again, I had, like, again, he'd already used more than 20 minutes, and I used only 5. So I think I would have been able to find the follow-ups to secure a really nice advantage. But it really would have been wild if he sacked. And he I really thought he was going to sacrifice. I mean, because it looks like it should be there something, but it's good for Black. And it's good that it's good that I at least knew this, at least from the computer, that I needed to move my king here so that I had this move of the sacrifice where if he swings his bishop there, I can then block on the b7 square. But because that gave me a lot of confidence, because I played this, because I knew from the computer that it was good for Black. I didn't know all the moves, of course, but I was just hoping that that's where, like, I'd be able to kind of figure it out, kind of as we go. But he doesn't do that, and I've wasted a lot of time talking about a hypothetical. Oh, cool, we're already 17 minutes in, and I spent 10 minutes of it talking about something that didn't even happen. Hopefully that's interesting for all of you guys. Anyway, he retreats his bishop, and at this point, I knew that, like, we pretty much have reached parity, because I have, like, space. My pieces, my minor pieces are on the, not developed, which is not ideal, but I have the territory, and my king is, oddly enough, pretty safe. So I was feeling pretty good. So, yeah, so this is the first time I decided to use some time. I thought, okay, I need to get my pieces involved. My friend Ryan was telling me that it's very important on the c5 square to trade off the dark square bishops, because the dark square bishop is his best piece. So I thought, all right, if I want to do that, I could launch... Oh, and by the way, it is interesting that a5 is the best move. I thought if I play a5, he could just play a4, which is what the computer says. And I didn't think we were getting anything there. Like, maybe then I would push. I would have it locked down. Which I actually, in total fairness, is totally fine for me. But I thought that the idea in this position is you don't want to launch your pawns at them until they castle. If they castle, then it's go time. You know what I'm saying? So I was kind of holding off on the flank pawn push until he castled, kind of showing me. So instead I decided I needed to develop a minor piece, and I wanted to trade this for that. I thought the way to do that was to play knight to d2, or d7, 2s and 7s are hard, with the idea of moving my bishop here, so that we could trade it, and then if I move my knight there, then I have a great knight cemented on c5. So that was my plan in the short term, kind of developing my pieces, getting rid of his best piece, blah, 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 blah. The computer likes it. I feel proud of myself, so cool. He then responds with a3, and this is definitely an inaccuracy. When he played it, I thought it was interesting, because he told me he wanted to take away the idea of the bishop coming to b4, but I already could have played that like a few moves ago, and I considered it. But what's funny is I think that Arya could have ignored it and just castled anyway. And like if you trade that, I mean, he could just take with the other knight. I don't think it's a big deal. And B, even if I do double the pawns, it's not even clear that's like good for me, because then he can like push and like I don't know, cement a rook here. His king would then be safer, where his rooks are kind of eyed up at my king. So I don't think it was that good of a move. The only positive is it gives him a retreat square for his bishop, where if I do land a knight on c5, he can fall back. And there is still some technical scope here. Whoops, arrows are hard. Technical scope here. Um, but I didn't think it was a great move. I understand the idea of it. I just don't think it's that good of a move. It looks like the computer wants me to play bishop e6, which, funny enough, and I'm not going to credit myself too much because this is an idea I think that is often had, is basically just trying to trade his light square bishop, which is not good. In fact, it's going to get hemmed in very soon for a more active piece. And I think that makes a lot of sense. Like, a lot of sense. I did suggest this move to him, by the way. Because we were kind of saying, what should he do instead of a3? And I said, how about just looking to trade these off? And he said, I was considering it. So I think he was considering it. But that's not what happened. All right, he plays a3. And I'm going to just stick to my plan. I say, all right, it's probably the best move. It might not be the best move, but boom. I play it, and already not only have I equalized, but black is slightly better, and I'm kind of getting everything I want. As soon as I played this, and it took me a minute, and again, I'm really, a core thing I'm going to emphasize this game is I really developed a big time advantage, which definitely helped me down the stretch. I'm not going to mention it too many times, but I played the first, again, 7 moves in like a minute. I used the 5-minute think when I did push to b5, just to make sure I wasn't like completely lost, and I knew that I would be safe. Not exactly on the b7 square, but against, with the follow-up with the knight, whether I could run, whether this queen side was going to trap me in, etc., etc. Anyway, neither here nor there. I already went over that. You guys probably don't need to hear about it. Anyway, I just stuck to my plan, and as soon as I played this, I realized he doesn't have to trade. And I assumed he would have to trade, and if he did some random move, I assumed that if he castles, I should just trade, and he should just take back. And I figured these pawns being doubled are probably not even that bad, but it's clearly a potential weakness. You know what I mean? Like, this is clearly not what he would want. But then I realized he doesn't have to trade. Like, he can't move to this square because I can take him. He can't move to this square because I can take him. And he can't move to this square because I can take him. And if he moves all the way back here, it's an ugly move. It kind of blocks in his rook. But he could move back to d2. And lo and behold, pretty quickly, Arya plays bishop d2. And when he played that, I did think to myself, it's probably good that I have a space advantage. Like, I'm taking away his knight jumps. He has not a lot of mobility about where to go. He still hasn't castled, which I actually was kind of surprised about. I told him after the game that I actually credited him for not castling here when I meant it. It's not like I was lying, because I'm waiting for him to castle to know where I'm supposed to attack, if that makes sense. Like, if he attacks, if he castles queenside, I'm going to monkey my pawns at him. If he attacks kingside, I'm going to reroute my pieces and attack him on the kingside. Given he's stuck in the center of the board, I wasn't sure what to do. So, again, I'm trying to basically get good pieces and force him to have bad pieces. Like, that's just chess, not even 101, I guess, intermediate strategy. But I didn't know where I'm supposed to attack. So that is one thing, because I felt that several moves, when you predict their moves, I was like, okay, he probably castles here, he probably castles there, and he kept finding an excuse not to. And here's another case where he avoids trading, he drops it back, and I felt like I was squeezing him a little bit. So, all right. I decided at this point I need to get my pieces in the game, the ones that are not active. This knight is stuck here, for the moment, defending this bishop. This bishop is kind of where I want it, where I could fall back here and I'm controlling this diagonal. So I thought the ideas in the position that I know, one is to play h5. A, it's kind of a rook lift, but B, it allows me to develop my knight to h6, because right now this bishop is here. If I just play it now, I know it's fine. Like, the computer suggests these knight h6s a lot, but I didn't want to have double pawns, not when there's a bishop here, so I can't actually take the file. So I know that h5 is an idea. Again, the rook lift to get the knight in the game. But then I thought, that's probably a little too fancy. Let's just play knight e7, which is the best move, so I feel good about myself. And the idea here, of course, is I will probably end up trying to position it on f4. Like, that's the outpost that I want. Obviously not now. I was thinking maybe if we end up trading, if those pawns kind of grip that rank, that might be good too. But that's why I moved it there, with the idea of kind of those knight jumps. So cool, it's the best move. He responds with a4, and this was a very strange move. Now, in the recap, Arya said that we've played 11 moves, he's down 30 minutes, and he basically said, hey, I felt like my position was a little bit worse, and I didn't really want to suffer. I wanted to have an active plan. I wanted to lash out at you. And I said, fair enough. And then he said that it made his position worse by doing so, which it definitely did. But it was not a move that I was expecting. He plays a4. And it lets me have a very, and I told him, I said, I was maneuvering my pieces and I wasn't sure exactly where I was supposed to be attacking. And as soon as he plays a4, I told him he gave me like a clear, he waved the flag about where I should put my pieces. He made my life really easy with this move. According to the computer, there's a lot of moves, and all of them are like decent. H4 is one idea, which makes a little bit of sense to me, trying to take a little bit of territory over here. Knight c1 is a strange move, I guess, rerouting here to then attack the bishop, because then you can trade the knight for the bishop and leaving you with the good bishop. That idea makes some sense too. Interestingly, the computer does not recommend castling. I'm just kind of curious, if you do castle, how bad is it? It's pretty bad. It allows me to just slam in the center, and this bishop is just in a world of hurt. It's really boxed in, which is why maybe he should have been willing to trade it, even though it's a good bishop. I don't know. But, yeah. All right. I'm just kind of curious, in those spots, how bad castling is for him. Because I did suggest, queenside castling is really bad. And, yeah, that's because it hangs the pawn. I did know that. I did know that my bishop is, of course, attacking this this pawn. So I did know that I was preventing him from castling. Anyway, he lashes out. I think that this is probably the first real error. This is a move, for the record, I would not have played. I know all these other moves, I think he's done pretty well, and arguably if the positions were reversed, I may have played the same. I do know that if I had been playing white, there's not I would never play. This is such a weakening move. It's a bad move because it makes it too easy. As soon as he pushed it, I thought to myself, because this guy's a pretty good player. I thought, all right, well, what's his idea? And I said, well, of course I can't take. That would be destructive for me. It opens the door for everything. And I said, all right, well, clearly he knows that I'm going to play b4. And I thought that he was going to jump over here, but then I thought, okay, I could lock it up. His idea was to reroute his knight from d1 to e3. And for the record, I've actually gotten, as white, some Queen's Gambit lines where I lash out with a4 against, I don't know if it's Grunfeld or where they have these pawns that kind of look like that. Just imagine the board reversed. And every time I play these a4 moves, they're always bad. Anytime I review a game like that, it's always bad. And so I'm not doing that anymore. And I think that for whatever reason, this position's kind of similar. Hopefully that makes sense to those of you that know what I'm talking about. I don't know if it's necessarily the Grunfeld, but there's the one line, the QGD, that you get pawns that look like this advancing up, and anytime white lashes out at that point with a4 to allow b4, it's just always good for black. Anyway, so I played b4. I didn't, at this point, I have not spent a lot of time on any move aside from when I played b5 initially. This one I kind of shook my head and thought, if he is outsmarting me, if there's something I'm not seeing, so be it, but this is the natural move, I'm just going to play it. And he plays knight to d1, and I look at this and I think, okay, I don't have to necessarily play a5, but I thought, if I don't play a5, maybe he can play a5 himself, and then this pawn becomes a weakness. Whereas if I slam a5, I can actually free to move my rook, because how the hell is he ever attacking a5? There's no way he can jump in. I don't know, something like that. It felt, again, like a very obvious move to me, a5. I wasn't looking at any other candidate move there. And as soon as I land a5, I know that I have a better position. I'm very comfortable. I have a space advantage. My pawns seem very well defended. It is symmetrical, but I have some pull in the position where my king is more active, arguably safer, given his is in the middle of the board, and I have a clearer plan where I control more scope. So I was feeling positionally quite pleased with myself, to be honest. All right. Once a5 is landed, he then immediately strikes with c3. And the recap, he told me he was just looking for a lot of these pawn breaks to open up the game. And I think one core thing about opening up the position is you really want your king safe first. So I don't think c3 is a bad idea, but I think he should have castled first to at least square his king away to then free his rook once he's opening up a file. So I think that he kind of had a decent idea, but his implementation was clearly wrong. He did this too quickly. He needed to prepare this. Because when he plays c3, I think to myself, okay, I know I have this move, bishop a6. That's a pretty clear idea, because it's preventing him from castling, because if he ever castles, he loses the knight. It can also potentially pin the piece here. Like if he was able to somehow castle or so with this piece defended, then it would be pinned to the rook behind. It would free my rook up to now take and swing the file. So I thought bishop a6 was a candidate move. I thought taking was an idea. With the idea, I wasn't sure what he was going to take with. I thought once again, if he slams his knight onto c3, this c6 pawn is still taking away all of his jumps, and his e4 square is preventing him from moving anywhere. So he basically would have two minor pieces of the knights that are honestly pretty bad. So I thought that was decent. But then I thought, well, let's find the best move in the position. By the way, it's not the best move in the position, but it's up there. It's pretty equal. And I thought, all right, this pawn is totally safe. Why don't I move my rook into the game here with the idea if he takes, I can take, and then if he takes and I take, boom, his light square bishop is under attack. He's not going anywhere with it, and I've got long-term pressure on the b2 square. And it just seemed great. Like I'd have potential ideas for then doubling, kind of running it down on him here. Yeah, it looked good to me. I'm really surprised, for the record, that it's not the best move, because this was a spot where I used like 10 minutes. Because when he played, c3, I was like, okay, that's his idea the whole time. I knew I didn't really want to take and just let him necessarily get, one of these knights back into the game, even though it's kind of dead there. So I thought that I would move here, force him to take, because if he doesn't take, then I take, and then boom, I open up on his bishop. So I thought it was like the most forcing line. And again, it's not the best move according to the computer, but as a human, or at least my level of understanding of chess, I was really happy with this move, if that makes sense. Anyway, I played rook b8. In the recap after, he said he didn't see this idea of me being able to swing this, which again opens up on his bishop, which really is limited in scope. Kind of tied down to this pawn. Yeah, I feel like his pieces are just not really in harmony right now. That's what I think that's the word he used as well. Anyway, he then takes with the c pawn on b4, pretty reasonable. The computer thinks his position's bad. They think that he should just play knight to c1, which is such a passive move, with the idea if I then take, his bishop is defended by the knight. And I'm going to be honest, yes, he's holding everything together. Here, I'm just going to show the line. Yes, he's holding everything together, but man, his position looks not fun to play, which is what we said, because like this has to protect this has to protect that. This is probably, okay, they even want b take, because then it makes sense, because then my rook is not necessarily attacking it. I think he would have gone bishop takes, to be honest. Yeah, long term, I'm just swinging on in. They want bishop b4, so they want me to just trade these bishops anyway, the dark squares, which maybe I would have found that move, because I kind of had that idea the whole time. And then we get to a position that we kind of transpose very similarly in the game, which is if he takes, I then take with the rook. The only difference is his knight is defending his bishop, so he doesn't have to move. He does f3 later anyway. And this was a position very similar to what we got in the game, so I guess it would have happened kind of like this. Anyway, yeah, so he goes c takes. I, of course, go b take. The idea, it is the best move in the position, which is nice. The idea here is I force the trade. If he doesn't trade for a reason, I hit with check, and then boom, I open up on his bishop, so I force it. The other line, I guess, is him moving like knight to c1, but again, it just feels like a terrible move. So he takes, which, yeah, I take. And yeah, it's funny. This is a game where positionally I really dug it in, because materially, that makes sense, we are dead even. But the computer says this is already -2, which is like significant. Like that's significant. And I felt good about this game. I felt good about the position, but it didn't feel like I was up 2 pawns. You know what I mean? Yeah, the computer just says that like black is much better. So yeah, interesting. All right. Once I take, slam it on in. he very quickly moves bishop c2. Seems like the only move, of course. Obviously, he could have defended with his knight, but that doesn't seem fun to play at this point now. Once he plays bishop c2, now I go for bishop a6. It is the best move. And my idea here was pretty simple. The move I was looking for here, first off, I'm preventing him from castling. Because now I think the fact that he hasn't castled is a weakness. His king is stuck in the middle of the board, and his rook is out of play. Whereas mine, I looked at this, I have two different choices. I'm for choice, is I think the expression. So I thought I'd get all my pieces in the game, and he's stuck with not having all of his pieces in the game. Furthermore, I also envisioned, again, this square, the f4, and I thought that if I reroute my knight and slam it on this fortress, I could then willingly trade my bishop for his knight here, and then I'd be enjoying a good knight, and I'd continue to basically suffocate his position. So that was the idea with bishop a6. It was also the last minor piece getting into the game. Felt it was time. It looks like the computer actually slightly prefers even just going knight to c5 immediately, but I don't understand why. I will end up thinking about playing bishop c5 soon. But all right, once I play bishop a6, now he goes f3. It's not a move I think that when he played it. No, does he do that here? Bishop a6, yeah, f3. It's one of the it's the third best move. I mean, these are all very equal. The idea, of course, is if I do want to play my knight to c5, because then I'll be attacking the e4 pawn. I'll be attacking the a4 pawn, and then I'm potentially threatening some jumps. Maybe not there, because trading, I feel like my knight is better. Maybe in here, because then I have some forks, like if I'm able to swing my bishop in, then take, and then I would take with the knight, I would check, and then boom, I'd be able to win this pawn, because right now it's only defended by that, etc., etc. So I am looking to put my my knight on c5. However, once he plays f3, he now doesn't have to worry about this pawn. It's kind of locked in. Positionally, though, this is further opening him up for trouble. Again, if I can ever slam my knight onto f4, it ain't going anywhere, baby. I'm gonna really be enjoying that. So he played f3. It is one of the best moves according to the computer, but when he played it, I think he grimaced, and I understood why, because it's weakening his position. Even though it's funny, there's a lot of moves that are the best according to the computer, but when you play them, it feels like you're actually making a weakening move, even if it's the best move, and that was definitely one of them. Anyway, I now think about knight c5. I think about my plan of going knight to g6, and I think about getting my rook into the game of rook d8, which is where I wanted it here, or potentially rook b8. So those are my candidate moves. I also did look at h5. I'm really happy with myself, guys, because literally these are all my candidate moves. I'm well, not and taking, right. I wanted to hold off on taking though, because I wanted to prevent him from castling. I felt if I took, then it lets his king develop, and then he has a square for his rook. So I actually didn't think taking was correct yet. That was my reasoning. Anyway, I end up playing the best move. I feel pretty good, because I thought that I wanted to prepare placing my knight here, and if he had to weaken even further, then it meant I didn't have to trade my bishop for his knight. So I play the best move. I play knight g6. Cool. In response, he does play g3. His idea with this move is I really wanted to put my knight there. I don't anymore, but now, boom, f3 is a huge weakness. If I can ever get a piece somehow around to it, it'll fall very, very easily. So yeah, he played that. I thought, he probably not a fun move. At this point, Arya has used, I'd say, about 45 minutes, and I've used maybe 20 minutes. I didn't write down the times on this game, but I was developing a very big time advantage. Again, he was slow in the opening. He's had, in fairness, a lot of spots that were not fun to move so far. Yeah. So yeah, from this position, I think about the candidate moves before. I knew that I wanted to move my rook into the game. I knew I wanted to move my knight into the game. By the way, I started thinking for my knight that maybe b6 was better, which is unfortunate that I got that into my head, because my initial instinct was to go knight c5, because then it attacks all of these squares. I then thought that maybe the b6 jump is a little bit more accurate, to move it into c4, with the idea of immediately targeting b2, which is less strong, but I started getting that in my head. Anyway, okay, all these moves are equal, so I feel pretty proud of myself. I wanted to put my rook on d8, and I decided that because I thought that the reason I didn't go on b8 is I thought that there were some lines, like that, where I'd have to retreat my rook, and I didn't think I'd want it necessarily on b7. I thought they'd be kind of tied down there. So I wanted to leave the b8 square in case I ever needed to retreat this rook. I wanted my rook on this file because it's a completely open file, and especially because I am planning on putting my knight either on c5 or b6, I'd have, full reign. Plus my king, by the way, it's worth mentioning, that's the power of the king on c7 is defending my rook. So I just have d-file supremacy, you could say. It is the best move. I feel, well, they're very close. I feel pretty good about myself, especially for the reasoning. If I can ever develop the battery, I can slam and enter his position, and then it's trouble for my friend. All right, he plays knight e to c3, so e to c3, and when he does this, it's like his position, he's like tying himself into tubes a little bit. He moves his knight back here. This is the power of the c6 pawn, taking away these jumps. His position doesn't look fun to play. And now I keep thinking, all right, where's the win? Where's the win? There has to be a win here. There has to be a win. I don't know if it's this position. Soon I go into a very long think. A very long think. Anyway, I keep thinking about how to make progress. Again, I keep thinking that I'm going to play knight to c5, and then I immediately also look at b6, knight b6. I got a little bit worried that I would be trapping my rook in some lines, because if he swings the knight to a2, I didn't want to necessarily have a piece here to block it. So I thought, but then I thought that I could swing it to d4 if he plays that and my knight is here. Then I have the doubled rooks, which is I thought what I wanted. I'm talking myself in a corner, but I wasn't sure which of these two squares was better. I thought that the idea from here was to jump over here, and I thought I wanted my rook. I thought actually he'd be helping me if he moved the knight there with that idea. I'd be doubling, and that's what I'd want with the battery there, and then I'd move my knight to c4, I would just be in there. That's kind of where I was going. Anyway, so I play knight b6. This is not the most accurate move. It's still considered good, but definitely I can see why c5 is better. And those were the two moves I was considering. They also like this plan, which I saw, of getting is a plan I end up doing as well. They like this move too. All right, it's raining outside now, by the way. I'm doing this very late, but I'm a super late night guy. Anyway, Arya at this point, after I played knight b6, lashes out. He spent a long time, he does not have a lot of time left. He's used at least half his time through 20 moves, and he spent at least another 10 minutes on this move, because he kept zoning his head, and I understood it. His position was not fun to play. All of his pieces are tied down. This rook is doing a great job of zoning in on b2. His knight is kind of stuck there. He doesn't really want to move it, because then he loses the pawn. He just moved this knight here, I assumed to play to a2 to kick my rook, but it doesn't really kick my rook. In fact, I might move it to a better square. He doesn't really have a way of getting his rook into the game. He can't castle, because I have this bishop preventing it. So, it's what the hell is he even supposed to do? I told him I thought that he should consider running his king. It's not apparently a good move. It doesn't even work here, because I would then be able to swing into the second. Yeah. Maybe it wasn't here that I thought that he should start running with his king. Well, alright, whatever. He plays h4. The move makes sense. He told me, and his logic is really good here, that this allowed him to rook lift and kind of bring it in the game that way, develop the piece, and that made sense. I thought he was playing h4 with the idea of playing h5, h6, with the idea, again, of just trying to get some kind of play, open up this side of the board, the counterplay. but he was just doing this for the rook lift. But I thought he was playing h4 with the idea of h5. So as soon as he plays h4, and I do see that, I didn't realize that he was actually lifting his rook. Again, I thought that he was like pawn storming, just trying to get counterplay on this side of the board. Because if he can ever open up, like if he's able to push, and for whatever reason if I took or something, then he could take or push down, his bishop comes into the game. And then maybe again, he opens up his rook on this side of the board. I thought that's what he needed to do. I answer with knight f8. And the reason why is I thought that if he did push to h5, I was going to just push h6, put all my pawns on dark squares, that kind of making his bishop completely irrelevant, just a pawn. Yeah, they want me to immediately just go knight c4, just kind of launch on in there, just to attack the pawn, which makes sense, just winning a pawn. I probably should have done that, to be honest. My move is the second best, but they're still very critical. They call it an inaccuracy, despite it being the second best move, which, bummer. But the reason why is I thought enough time, I had him in a vice. If he pushed h5, I was going to go h6, and my idea was very clear. I was rerouting to e6, and then I could slam it on this d4 square, which is amazing. Like, this is an amazing square. I'd be attacking f3, I'd be attacking this fork, potentially. If I ever could trade in, then I'd just win material. So I went about doing that. Boom, that was my plan. Knight f8. He responds with rook h2. He plays this. He blitzes this one. He rook lifted, and I think this is a good move. It makes sense. The computer likes his move best. Rook h2. Again, I don't know why they just call it good. They're so inconsistent with how they evaluate moves. I didn't realize how good this move was. He's looking to basically just alleviate the pressure, because if he can trade this rook for this rook and then get his king in the game, now all of a sudden his king is actually pretty strong in the sense that it's closer to his pieces, kind of being a more active defender and attacker, especially because there's nothing going here, so this is just a bad rook. I ignored it though, which maybe was the right move, maybe not. Looks like the computer likes bishop c4 best. I actually was thinking about that to stop his knight swinging. I'm not even kidding, but I thought it was too fringe, and I did think that if he ever swung his knight in kind of out of the board, that's when I would hit him with the rook b to d4. So I didn't want to block in my rook like that, especially because my knight was here. If it was here, that's another story where I could drop it down. Anyway, I played what's the second best move apparently, and I feel pretty proud of this plan. Very quickly, I didn't think this did enough to stop it, because when he did that, I thought, all right, well, I still have this idea of slamming it in. And at this point, Arya is down below, I think at this point he's below 30 minutes, and I still had an hour on the clock. Because, yeah, we got to a point where he was below 30, and I was still, I had not reached the 59 minute yet. So yeah, which is always a good, it's a nice relief when you have a lot of time when you potentially can think. The reason why is once I played knight e6, and now he does go rook d2, this position is where I spent 20 minutes. I looked at the clock, I was over an hour, I saw that he had under 30 minutes. I had more than 30 minutes, and I said, okay, this has got to be the key position of the game. Now it's funny, material 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is even. One rook, one rook, one rook, one rook, knight, 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 bishop, bishop, king, king. However, if you look at the computer, it's almost -3. It is overwhelming for black. Part of it is pawn structure, part of it is the piece activity, part of it is the king safety. While playing, it felt like a comfortable position for me and better for me. As he put it when we were going over the game, I had the initiative, I had the impetus, but it didn't feel like it was a one game or winning. You know what I mean? According to the computer, it is. -2.7 is a huge advantage, because I couldn't understand how to convert my positional strength here to a material gain. I didn't know. And I thought, surely there has to be something in this position. I spent 20 minutes, and the reason why I spent so long is here. Let me do this. I end up after 20 minutes playing knight c5, which is not the best move. Wait, did I really play knight c5? No, I didn't. Okay, phew. I did not play knight c5. All right, I was going to say, I played one of these moves. I'll give you a hint. I played one of these moves. I didn't play that one. I didn't play the best move either. I did consider that, though. So I played one of these three moves. All right, I'm just going to tell you what I played first. I ended up playing rook b to d4 because I couldn't find a clear win with any of the other moves that I was looking at, and I thought that this maintained the positional advantages while preventing him from playing the knight to a2 to attack the rook anyway, and kind of maintain the pieces where I want them. I thought if he then traded, I'd have a very easy way of attacking with the knight. Then I'd be attacking this bishop with a fork, as well as the pawn with check. And I thought, great, this is very comfortable. The reason why, and now we can do the deep dive, I spent 20 minutes, I couldn't find, I don't know if it's tactics, I looked at playing my rook here, because then I saw, obviously, he could then take, and I looked at swinging this knight or this knight. Okay, those are the moves I looked as far as follow-up. I saw if I move here, I thought he could move to c1. Yep, I saw this. And I thought he's defending everything. I looked at this position. I couldn't find a follow-up. I figured I would do knight d4. That's what I thought. But I thought from here, I guess I'm attacking this pawn. They say just to push. E takes, G takes, and then what? F5. I don't think I'd have been. I didn't look this far out, obviously. Anyway, I saw about to this position, and I thought, yes, he's squeezed into a corner. Yes, I have a space advantage, but I didn't see the win, and that's because there isn't a clear win. And I thought his responses to this were not that hard to find. Again, I looked at takes, and I looked at this, and I thought he would just retreat here, and it didn't seem that great to me. I then looked at knight to d4, attacking the same stuff, and I thought from this position, I thought he could still grip, but then obviously he's losing the pawn, and I thought he would just push. And from here, e takes. I didn't see how this was better for me. I mean, I guess maybe this pawn is weak. I can corral it, I guess. But I looked at this position. I couldn't see the win. I couldn't find it. So yeah, I looked at rook takes. I looked at playing the knight here. I didn't think this would be good because I thought he would just trade then. And I didn't see anything here, or at least anything, any material gain. I was a little bit concerned about this, by the way, because I'm so far removed from this bishop that I'm actually pinned. So I actually thought that would maybe have been bad for me. So I didn't think I could go knight to b4. So yeah, so I looked at all these candidate moves. I looked at takes with the idea of here, takes with the idea of here, which would be a check. I looked at swinging it in. I looked at all these moves. I spent 20 minutes, and after 20 minutes, I couldn't find one move that was better than the rest. I saw that he'd be able to hide his king on c1 in all of these lines, and I just couldn't see the win. In the recap, when we looked at it together, we look at it without a computer. We both said we got to the position on the board, and we both said, both of us were like, yeah, I don't know if there's something better for black. It feels like there should be, but neither of us could find it. And it's because even with the computer, it's not that clear. It's still positional moves that's kind of hard to, transfer even to a pawn. Like that pawn in some lines is falling. That pawn in some lines is falling. So anyway, I'm not going to beat myself up too much. It looks like it's a difference of like a half pawn. I think this is a very complicated position because all the moves look pretty good, but none of them are obvious. Again, there's a knight here. There's a rook here. There's rook takes. There's just doubling. There's like a quiet move. There's this knight move. All of those seem like reasonable candidate moves. Anyway, after 20 plus minutes, my time advantage went from like an hour, 4 minutes to, 41 against like 31 or something like that, where I had so much time. I then only had like maybe 10 or 12 minutes on him. I just sighed and I played what I thought was the non-forcing move, but it maintained the position because I just couldn't find the kill shot. And again, I played here because I thought it avoided in all these lines any complications where my rook might be trapped. I still have the ideas. If he ever traded, boom, I would swing in and then, again, threaten both the fork as well as win the pawn. And now I'm actually threatening his piece because he has to react to it, because if he doesn't do anything, I just take it. So I thought by process of elimination, if I couldn't find anything better with the other moves, I would just go with this one. So yeah, so there you go. That's why I played rook b to d4. And I'm going to maintain, I think that's a very complicated position. Even though it's like basically winning for black, I couldn't find the win. And it's because the win is kind of it's kind of hard to see, to be honest. All right. Immediately, he plays the best move here. Like after 20 plus minutes, where I was I was so close to like solving the game, and you know what I mean, like figuring it out. He immediately plays rook f2, which is the best move, and I was like, fuck. I've spent 20 plus moves kind of squeezing this position, and I'm not sure I have anything to show for it. So, he plays rook f2, and I think to myself, like, what did I do? And in this position, I then finally say, all right, this is still a good move, because is that even what I played? No, I didn't even play that. What am I talking about? I looked at this here, and I'm like, what? Hold on, what did I play? I wrote knight c5. Oh yeah, okay, it's fine. Knight c4 is apparently better. I'm not sure why. Alright, well, this is some crazy stuff. Anyway, so in this position, unfortunately my rook is occupying the square that I kind of wanted for my knight. But I thought that I could then jump my knight into c5, and then I'd have all these attackers still ganging up on this a-pawn. And I'd have the idea of jumping into d3, because this is a potential fork. On that square, I still would be attacking b2 if I ever swung back. So, yeah, so I was frustrated because I didn't see, like, the best move. I didn't see, like, my plan. And it's still a good move, but I felt like this was, not that the game was slipping, but I felt like I had a clear advantage and I was kind of, like, messing it up. And I kind of am, but it's really hard to play. My idea with this move was not to play it immediately. I thought I'd be able to move my bishop to d3, force this off, and then take with the knight for the fork, just winning material. And I thought I'd be winning with that. And again, it didn't seem like it was so clear with what he could do to prevent that, because if I slam my bishop there, he can't move it there because I could just take, and if he drops it back there, then I would take, he would take, and then finally I would win this pawn. Hopefully you guys can see what I mean with all that, but that's what was going through my head with the knight c5 move. So that's why I thought it was the best move. He responds with knight e3, and he's doing a pretty good job of basically defending. Like it's another best move. His position is worse. He's got a space disadvantage. His pieces are like really not in harmony, but he also hasn't lost material, and I don't really have a clear win. So he is holding. He's holding firm, to be honest. At this point, when this is played, knight e3, I think to myself, like, oh, fuck. I still maybe have this move. Maybe I should have played it here, by the way. Yeah, bishop d3, because I mean, that's what I had planned. And again, with the idea of, and in fact, the computer even says the check immediately is good. Not sure why. Oh, because then in those lines, oh, I see why. Because if I check, he has to take, because otherwise I win the exchange. Then I can take, and I can move my rook into d3, and then his knight is under attack, and so he has to then move it. But how is that even that bad for him? Yeah, then they then suggest these crazy lines of knight d7 after all that. Maybe to reroute again, to slam the other one in that same square once that's removed. Okay, makes sense to me, actually, but that's kind of wild. Anyway, when this position is reached, I still have a time advantage, but it's not even close. Like I had 30 minutes, now I have at most 15 on him, maybe 10. And remember, he's getting low in time. He's below 30, maybe above 20 or 25, but he's still spending a few minutes. Like he's blitzed a couple moves, but he's still moving. He's taking his time for them. And I thought with his knight here, when he wanted to move it there, I then said, well, I have such a winning position, or at least it feels like I've really constrained him. Why don't I continue to lock it down? And why don't I make a move that shuts out his counterplay? And I thought, why does he want to move here? And I said, all right, well, this jump makes no sense. Like, it's staring at, well, I gotta open the door to that, actually, with the move I played. Maybe that's why my move is bad. Well, I end up playing g6. The reason why is I thought that if he planted his knight into f5, he'd be bouncing my rook and attacking my pawn, and I'd have to do a retreating move of going back to d7. I thought if I pushed to g6, I'm preventing his only active plan, and I can continue squeezing with the idea of coming on in with the bishop. So that's why I played g6 here. It's not the best move at all. Yeah. In fact, I lose a bit of my advantage from this move, but that's why I played. Oh, g6 is at least on the candidate move list for the computer. Briefly, it's like the 5th or 6th best move. Okay, that makes me feel a little better that it has some purpose. But I'm just realizing now that maybe he has this move, knight g4. He also just has g4. He also has this move, rerouting again. Yeah, maybe he's gonna get counterplay one way or another. I don't know. All right, well, anyway, maybe not one of my best moves, but that's why I played g6. But my recaps just keep getting longer and longer, huh? He slams one of the best moves, rook d1, just threatening trades. And I kind of sigh because I realize, I mean, look at this. I still have an advantage, but he's clawing back a little bit. He's making the best moves, actually. And I say, all right, screw it. I've shut down any of his active counter plans. He has no knight moves, no jumps. I'm infiltrating the position. Let's go. And I said the only way to get my last pieces involved is I can swing my bishop in, force this off, either win this damn pawn or maybe win the exchange. So I finally play what I think at this point is the best move. Bishop d3. The computer thinks it's fine. There's nothing wrong with this move. Unfortunately for me, there were better moves, none of which I could really see. I mean, b8. I mean, they really want me to just go back and forth and just kind of squizzle it and attack. Makes sense. I can move my rook here with the idea of swinging my bishop, I'm assuming. Or my knight, excuse me. Yeah, knight to c4. Yeah, that makes more sense because it's impossible for him to defend the pawn. In that line, the pawn falls. I thought this was more forcing. Again, if we go take, something like check, take, or move, take. Yeah, I'd be winning an exchange in all those lines. Yeah. Anyway, with rook d3, he plays rook f to d2, which is the second best move. And yeah, I'm like, I look at this, I'm like, my head is throbbing because I'm like, I spent so long not finding the tactical win. I'm looking at this. At this point, Arya is below 20 minutes. I know that for sure because his timer is going, is like in this. We can see the seconds now, and I still have more than 30. I have 10 to 15 minutes on him. I wanted to win on the board, not on the clock, but I also, part of me wanted to, I think he was down to 15 minutes at this point, actually, because I remember even on these moves, he still spent he wasn't making instantaneous moves. He still spent at least 1 or 2 minutes on each move at this point. I just say screw it. I say, all right, the computer says that I have time to play h5 and just basically make a waiting move to improve this side of the board, or b7, which actually makes a lot of sense because it's kind of in some lines you actually want it over here. I didn't see any of that, Even something like that, it's kind of a waiting move, but it's defending. If there's ever a way for him to break free, I think to myself, I've prepared this. Let's mass liquidate. It's time. I say it's time. Let's go. I think I'm winning here. There's only so much you can do, and the reason why is I thought that he has to take, and if he does something silly like take that way, I take with a pawn, and then boom, his pieces are forked, his knights that is. I'd be winning material and then the game. So I thought he had to take, and then here, and then once that occurs, I'd have a lot of options. Most likely, I figured I would take, he would take, and then I'd finally win this pawn, and we would just play that endgame. What's funny is the computer doesn't love my plan. It's still good for me, but it's not that accurate. So, as of course he has to take, he takes on c2, and the computer wants me to play b7, which makes sense because now this is actually pinning this pawn. So now this actually opens the door to these checks, and if I go to b7, you dodge them. I saw that later, but not here. I saw this line, which is the second best. It looks like this game, there were a lot of complicated moves and complicated situations, and it looks like I consistently picked the second best one, which is not bad, actually. So, it looks like just looking at this from the computer perspective, looks like I played pretty well, but not perfectly. But looks like I played pretty well, because these are hard moves, in my opinion, I think. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm curious, those of you that watch this, what you think. The reason why I traded as well here is I have his king cut off. This is a big thing that I'm trying to get better at, and I thought he has to take with one of these knights. I'm obviously going to win this pawn, and his king cannot get over on this side of the board because I still dominate the open file. So I thought with all that, up a pawn, king cut off, my king more active, I have to be winning. And he's low in time. That's kind of what my logic was. I'm not good enough to calculate these endgames to know what's a one endgame and what's not. Yeah, so that's why I took. He ends up taking with the E knight, which is better. I didn't write that down correctly on my transcript. And at some point around here, he actually stopped writing the moves because actually my friend Arya ended up taking a picture of my scorecard. I told him I wrote some things wrong because I did. So hopefully I'm getting these moves right. Anyway, he takes with the knight. I now realize I can win this pawn, finally. I'm not sure which is the best one. I thought that I wanted to take with this one, which is the wrong choice, of course. Because I thought there were some lines where if he opens up with a check, maybe my knight would be loose. So I didn't really want to be loosey-goosey. So I took this. And it's funny, I play such a nice positional game all along, only to make some kind of poor tactical decisions. And I went from remember at some point it was -3 almost, and the game is barely -1 now. It is a clear pawn, but that's it. And sometimes these games are drawn. I know knight endgames are supposed to not be drawn in that spot, but rook endgames tend to be. So I don't know, but it is what it is. Anyway, Arya then takes the knight. Of course, I then take the knight. I want the piece back. And then he plays knight c3. And it's funny, again, here, if he plays b3, if he plays b3 and I drop back, it's -1. It's holdable. I thought that I was going to infiltrate, but maybe not. Maybe not. Instead, he plays knight c3. And what's funny is he plays this move, and the computer says if I just simply take, the game is over. I have no idea why. I was thinking that I can't trade here, because I thought that there were some that, even though I'm up a pawn, maybe he can draw this. And so I thought that in my mind, I said, whatever I do, I should not let him do that. I also didn't think I should move to c5, because I got a little bit worried about some discoveries. So I played what I thought was the sensible move, which is knight b6, which is not a good move here. It's a miss. So this is the first miss of the game they award me. I'm supposed to just take. I'm kind of curious though if I played knight c5. Is this not good for me? How come that doesn't work? All the moves the computer suggests are backwards moves. Oh. I guess this is just clearly winning, the 2 against 1 with a cutoff king. Okay. Makes sense. Yeah, and then I do something like knight d3. Or, excuse me, rook d3. I thought if I played here, the discoveries were rough on me. Just kind of curious if he does something like this. Now I just go to check. Ah. And I'm winning this pawn. Yeah, makes sense. I'm finally winning this pawn. And once that pawn falls, and I've got the 2 passed pawns, even if they're not connected, just pushing up the board, it's easy, easy, easy game. All right, well, I didn't see that, so instead I retreated because I just don't know any better. You know, I just don't know. All right, he plays knight b5, check, and from here it looks scary. My opponent was below 10 minutes at this point. Actually, he was maybe even down to like 6 or 7 minutes. He really was in time trouble. And I see, I do a quick sweep. I'm like, all right, are there any forks? No. And I move to b7. Once I play king b7, I think to myself, okay, it's a great move, thanks computer. I'm safe here because he can't move here, can't move here, can't move here, can't move here. So he can either move there or move back. And I realized as soon as he's moving back, I can make progress in this position. And I felt like I was going to win the game. Finally, this is the first time at this position when he has to move back after I played king b7. He plays knight c3. This is the first time I thought I'm going to win this game. And it took him getting down to like below 5 minutes for me to feel this way. So, yeah, I then certainly am not the most accurate, but I'm kind of curious what the computer says of my technique. Oh, I make the best move. I play rook d4. My idea is I want to start pushing. I also kind of wanted to get my knight in the game. I wanted to protect everything. I thought this was the best way to push on him. 33. He plays knight e2. Immediately trying to kick my rook. I think to myself, oh, shit, you know, fuck me. I then play rook d3. Interesting. The computer wants to go to b4 with the idea of probably the knight here, I'm guessing. No. With the idea of trading off rooks. Okay. Yeah. Because I knew as well, if it was a knight endgame where I'm up the pawn, it's just a win for me. So I did know that as well. So the computer is basically saying, yeah, just trade rooks. So they want me to play over here. I played here because I thought he had to run back with his king, and I thought it was moving his king away from the action, which I thought was more accurate. It's not, but that was my logic. Apparently, if I just go here, why can he not just play here? And okay, that's crazy. Oh, because I'm defending here, and I could just push a4? Really? Endgames are so tough. This doesn't work, because then I can just push the pawn. Okay, or not push the pawn. b4. h5? What the fuck? Alright. None of that happened. I'm just kind of curious. I thought this was more accurate because I forced him to play king f2, which is what's played on move 35. And now here is where I play rook b3, which to me is the best move. Makes sense because now I'm applying pressure. My idea is to swing my knight, and I'm just going to try to win the pawn, you know? I've pushed his king away. I feel pretty good about myself. This move I didn't write down properly. I just say that I go rook b5. So I think he must attack with it. Yeah, he must play knight c1. I can't attack this yet or win it yet, so I have to back up again. And I'm thinking to myself, like, how do I make progress here? How do I make progress? I play rook of b5. Yeah, and I'm like, damn, I'm stymied here. He plays knight to d3. And from this position, at this point, Arya is down to like 2 minutes. He is, yeah. A lot of these moves have not been immediate for him or that quick. So he's quite low in time control. I still haven't broken the 20-minute mark. And I'm making a point of emphasis to not play every move immediately. In fact, tonight, I made clear that I was going to write down all his moves. Even though he was in time control, I didn't care. I was going to write down his move. I was going to write down mine. Even if it meant giving him a few extra seconds to think. I was going to take a breath before I blitzed out a move. Because I didn't want to hang anything. I've made that mistake before, and I wanted to slow the game down a little bit. Especially because I was winning on the board. And I said, all right, like, let's fucking show some skill. Like, let's win this game legit, not just on the clock. So in this position, I think to myself, finally, I say, okay, how the fuck do I make progress? And I see the winning line, finally. I say, okay, if I move my knight back to d7, I'm reinforcing the c5 square. It frees up a space where I can move up with my king. He does not have a jump with his knight. Everything is taken away. So I can basically move my knight here, my king here, and then I can start pushing my pawn. And I said, this has to be the plan. Thankfully, finally, for once, the computer's like, yes, you have made a good decision. So I play knight to d7. He plays king e2. He's just making like very fast moves at this point because, again, he's down to like 1 or 2 minutes. I stick with my plan. I go king b6. Cool. Finding the winning plan here. He plays king f2. He's just kind of moving back and forth at this point. It's still a fine move, but he's just low. He's basically playing on the increment here. And then from this position, I say, okay, I can push my pawn, or I can play my knight here. We can trade everything. His king is further away than my king, and I can finally fucking win this game. So we do that. Oh boy, finally. He's not supposed to trade. He's supposed to play knight to c1, and then I'd be able to just push my pawn. Instead, he does trade. 39, he takes, knight takes. I go rook takes, of course. Otherwise, I'd be blundering a piece, and with it, the game. And then, obviously, if he goes rook takes and I go king takes, then it's the easiest win I've had on classical. He's not going to quite let me do it that easily, and he slides rook d2. So I say, okay, this is still probably winning. My king is faster. I have the extra pawn. I have the active rook. Let's not blunder something stupid. So he played rook to d2. I decide to push my pawn. I play a4. My idea here is I'm going to move my king up. I'm going to get over here. I'm going to get my rook there. I'm going to trade, and then win this, queen, and with it the game. Brute forcing. I figured this was simple chess. I can easily do this. He plays king e2. I play king b5. Keeping with the idea... Interesting, they want this here. I thought this was a good move. It's not the best, most accurate, but endgames are tough. I just wanted to get my king in there. I thought he can't prevent me from doing that because this pawn is taking that away. This pawn is taking that away. And this pawn, if I move my rook up, would be taking this away too. Meaning I'd have the free access. I'd be able to waltz up with my king. Waltzing Matilda. My opponent is down to a minute only. So he's playing on a little bit more than increment, but not a lot of time. Bishop, king b5. He plays king d1. I know there's a spot here where I wrote the wrong move, but that's okay. I continue my plan of waltzing my king up with king b4. He plays rook to d3. And here, I realize I can't move my rook over yet. I wasn't sure what to do. It looks like I should go to c4 with the idea of d4 to force them off there. For some reason, I play rook a5, which is definitely the wrong move. And I think I played this because I knew he didn't have the check here. I was taking it away. He can't take the check there. And I thought I'd be able to push with the idea of like consolidating these and getting the rooks off the board or winning this pawn. And then I'd have this pawn with my king in front of it. He'd have to defend it, and then I'd basically gobble up all his pawns. So I think that's what I thought by getting behind the pawn here with playing it, for the record. However, as soon as I do that, he plays, after I play rook a5, I wrote this move down wrong, but I believe he played king c1, trying to get over to defend this pawn. I realized I made a mistake, so I decided to go back. I play rook c5, check, and he goes king b1, so now he's defending over here. I say, shoot, I made an incorrect move. I go back to c4, now with the idea of force trading them off, but it looks like this is a total blunder because I've let him get to d6 if he wants to be aggressive. Thankfully, he's on his increment, and I'm blundering this away. He plays rook a4, and once that is played, I go rook d4. Man, endgames are really tough. Hopefully I wrote these moves right. These seem correct. He's basically playing the increment. He's moving rook c3. From here, now I play c5. I've locked everything up. I'm going to basically push both of the peepos as they're known. He goes rook a3. Oops. Nope, he does not do that. I would have lost the game. Let's delete that. Well, I'm going to let you in a spoiler. I did win this one. But he doesn't blunder mate, that's for sure. Rook a3. I then continue my plan of pushing c4. I'm just going to keep pushing. I figured I'd get my rook in there. We would trade it off. Easy peasy. He plays rook c3. He's just kind of moving back and forth. I'm taking my time to write down these moves. I am below 15 minutes at this point, and he's on less than a minute, basically playing an increment. I play rook d3, which seems like it forces the rooks off the board. He plays rook a3. And then finally, in this position, I say I have won the game. I take. He takes with the pawn, of course. Check, technically. I guess I didn't write that down correctly. I take. And once I take, king takes on a3. That's move 52. He plays f4. And once I play king b3, which is the most accurate move, with the idea, of course, if he takes, I just take. If he pushes, I could take. It doesn't matter. The point is, I push these two pawns. He's going to stop one, and then the other one will queen, and immediately it's checkmate. So I actually think he flagged here, to be honest, but I think he resigned as well. Maybe he resigned and then flagged because of the resign, because he had like 10 seconds left. But it is mate in 10. Maybe I'd be able to mate him a little faster than that. But 53 moves in, I win the game. Yeah, but what a doozy, huh, everybody? Wow, this has been a long recap. I'm good at these long recaps now. This is my third win in a row as with the black pieces. I've definitely found something with this opening, and I think I'm playing better as well, which is nice. I'm done. In case it's not clear, I'm basically done with the French. There's like, maybe I'll go back to it in certain spots, but probably not. All right, well, we're gonna save this game. We'll do a good old game review, because I'm kind of curious, of course, how well I played. Yours truly played at a 84.7%. When I did this on the tee, it's at 86%, so I feel cheated and robbed. But, whatever. Is what it is. Yeah, I mean, it does look like I grinded him down. I just consistently had the advantage and kind of played with it. I almost threw the win, but luckily he had no time left at that point, and then was able to win the game. But, all right, so this is what I wanted to say, though. This is the standings. I've won. Looks like I'm up 2 points from being 2.5 out of 4. I play Mike Brown, who is 1650 or 1660, something like that. Haley won again, by the way. I know she actually subscribed, which is cool. Thanks, Haley. Maybe I did a move wrong, because I on the train it said I was 86%. Whatever, it doesn't really matter. Haley won again. She's fucking crushing it. Good for her. She plays my friend Zane, or Malio. No, Malio. Alex. Nice guy as well. Um, I suppose if she loses and I win, I could split first prize with her. If she draws or wins and I win, I'll take second place. So I'm going to be the white piece against Mike Brown, and hey, prize money's on the line. If I win, if I beat him, I'll take down some money. If I beat him and Haley loses, then I'll win $10 more, 10 whole more dollars. Oh my god. And if I don't win, if I just draw, then it looks like I can't split a prize. I'll be on 3 points. Mike will be on 3.5. Haley will be on at least 3.5. So from a fiduciary perspective, I need to win. From a rating perspective, it looks like in this tournament, at 2.5 out of 4 with my current rating, I gained 2 points. He's higher rated than me, so I guess if I draw as well, I'll earn points as well. But as always, I've only drawn one game. I'm basically trying to win every game. I guess I took it not easy, but I guess I should have tried to win that game against Malio, Alex, where I drew instead. But yeah, but I'll have my work cut out for me. He seems like a pretty decent player. Yeah, so that's these are the tentative pairings. That's it. We'll see how it goes. I played the white pieces. I'm against Mike Brown. If I win, I'll win some money. All right, this has been a long enough recap. Hope you all enjoyed it. We'll see how my last round goes next week. Take care.